I mean, it's as simple as like, I mean, your baby is here, but do you know where your husband is? Ooh. Hey guys, what's up? It's Cecily, and it's been a long time since I reviewed a Potomac show. Actually, it's probably been about 4 years now, like, right? So I still watch the show, and I was thinking, you know what? It would be kind of fun to do a review of or reaction to the episode that just came on last week. So I just wanted to go over a few things based off of memory and notes just so I can have a comprehensive look at what took place. So this episode basically starts out with Monique's trip. So Monique has assembled this girls' trip at her lake house. All the girls are invited, all the girls are attending. The first part of the episode opens up to Ashley with her baby and her husband Michael, and there's seems to be like some sort of like uncertainty as to what they're going to do with the baby. And Michael asked her a couple times, well, you're going to bring the baby with you, right? You're going to bring the baby with you, right? Because the baby is too young to be away from his mom. And immediately I thought, okay, you are a father, an experienced father. Why wouldn't you take this time to sit with the baby? Here's the thing. I'm a mother of three and I'm also a grandmother. So I do sympathize or empathize with moms who do not want to be separated from their children, especially very, very, very young children. There's some of y'all who believe that you shouldn't spend any time away from them. They need you. At the same time, there are some people who, like me, feel like I'm not the only parent. Being pregnant and breastfeeding is a whole situation in itself. You're pregnant for nearly a year. And I'm going to tell you something right now. If you take 2 days, one day, time away where your child is left with a trusted caregiver, he or she won't remember that. She will not be traumatized. She or he may not be as comfortable with that parent that don't have breasts, that isn't soft, that doesn't really know what to do. But it also should encourage fathers to be more hands-on fathers so that women don't become so inundated, so that women don't feel like only I am here only to service the children, to raise the children, to be available for the children. Personally, I thought it was an asshole move. And for him to say that and then to add the mom shame on top, well, he's too young to be away from him. You know, it's just kind of like, you've had babies, like you've got grown kids. So he just puts me in mind as a man who thinks that child rearing is for women. And I've definitely been with those kind of men who are like, oh no, that's your job. Like, that's what you should be doing. So, triggered. We'll come back to that though. Because the other part of that, the guy who's like, oh no, your kid should be with you, he wants to be doing something else. He don't want to be babysitting these kids. He can't wait to run into them streets. Yeah, that's where this episode's going. It's obvious that they're gearing up for a confrontation between Wendy and Karen. But who knew it would be Wendy versus everybody? But we'll get to that in a second. Let's just move everybody to the lake house, get right to it. The scene where Wendy and Ashley get into it really disappointed me, and this is why. Being that she is a correspondent, a professor, I thought that she was a person who would be able to assert herself, also fight intelligently, because you have to with this group, and really outsmart them. She's had the luxury of watching the show, and if she didn't watch it, she should, to find out what everybody's pressure points are. I mean, like, the reality is that you can come in there and they're gonna pounce and they're gonna fight and they're gonna try to figure out what your weaknesses are, but their weaknesses are displayed. And I don't even know Ashley, but I already know how I could have got to her in that conversation. And it's true. Wendy was salty because she had done so much to get ready for this trip. And I can empathize, or I can sympathize with her on this. I have been in new situations with a new group of girlfriends, and in order to not rock the boat, I didn't make demands. So if it's a trip and I want to go and I want to be a good sport, I'm not going to ask to bring my child because I'm trying to fit into the group. And to do that, I might have to go through hell and high water to make this all happen. And as soon as you get there, you realize that the rules are different for you. And that right there could be a huge blow to your ego. I really think that she has a big ego. I also think that there were feelings attached to it, being that her child was a preemie. Now, in that situation where she's going back and forth with Ashley, she never mentions that her child was in the NICU, that her child was a preemie. All she had to say was like, look, I sacrificed, and guess what? I didn't even know if my child was gonna make it. My child came 2 months early, and I'm here with you guys. And had I known I had brought her, I would have brought her. I think that would have shut down everything. I think everybody would have shut the fuck up. The other part I hated about that scene was Robin, Giselle, and mostly Robin, Giselle, and Monique were not empathetic towards her by saying that, oh, you're already a mom, so you shouldn't have a problem with leaving your third child at home. None of these girls have a fresh baby. Like a fresh baby, 2 weeks old, is different than an 8-month-old, an 8-year-old, an 18-year-old. It's completely different. So for you to minimize her feelings like she was triggered, like, I'm talking about my kids. If I said something to you about your kids, the word would not be triggered. You know, it might be like homicide or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, I just really thought that they all jumped bad on her out of convenience. But Wendy did not effectively communicate under pressure. And that's when I knew you're not going to win this with them, because when you fight like a sister. And when we fight, we go short words and action. When everybody else fights, they are very cunning. They are sarcastic. They double talk. You know what I mean? And these girls, largely, especially Ashley, are those kinds of fighters. And so I thought she was going to bring all that newfangled education, the commentator piece, the professor piece, and she was really going to be able to get them together. Sort of like what would I say, that Kenya kind of does, her fighting style, or even Eva. Eva has a mix of like that sister girl and a non-sister girl in one. It's like, you know, you don't know if she's gonna give you white girl tea or black girl tea. Like, it's just all over the place. And I hate to refer to it that way, but that's the best way I could put it. I grew up in the hood. Those girls don't talk too much. They just fight you. I went to the white schools. Well, I mean, like, so, you know what I mean? It's a different sort of dance, and you got to know when to turn it on, turn it off. And you got to know how to sub it in, sub it out, just to keep things interesting. So that was horrid. I feel like Karen was really, I've been waiting for Karen to be the role model. And I think sometimes she puts herself out there to be that, and it hasn't really clicked for me. I really do feel like she's giving me role model tea. From the time that she heard that Wendy was talking about her, from the time that she actually used the platform, the one that Wendy built with all that foolishness, to say, if you really want to get to know me, you can start with dinner and stay out my you-know-what. Like, that right there was a very ladylike response. And I really felt like, not that we're shooting for being ladylike, like we were all watching reality TV, but I still felt like there was something, there was a place to go. Because eventually, at the end of the day, she was like, you want to get to know me, and you're trying to draw me out, and I don't operate on that frequency. Like, ooh. I love that. Ashley. So, just from watching the show, I really honestly feel like, one, Wendy should have definitely watched the show, and she could have disarmed every single one of those ladies with just a few words. And I really think, all in all, Ashley is hella corny. She's a corny can be cool. It's okay. Like, don't Don't take it the wrong way. I think she's just cheesy. Like, I don't think she's a barracuda. I don't think that she's a force to be reckoned with. You know, she's extremely defensive. She gets loud and boisterous to deflect. And I think, honestly, had Wendy had said something about Michael not wanting to really keep his child that weekend, or, you know, any past sort of situations with, you know, Michael's questionable behavior, would have definitely redirected the conversation in a way and disarmed Ashley somewhat, because towards the end she's just chanting at some point, and that's really the point where I would just be like, I'm gonna just dial it back, because I'm not gonna say something to you and now watch you chant like a fool. Like, I would never talk to you again if our dealings ended in some sort of chant. I mean, it's as simple as, like, I mean, your baby is here, but do you know where your husband is? Ooh. So by the episode end, we see basically that Wendy's going to be struggling during this trip. I don't get the bird thing. I'm really trying to understand what's going on with the bird and why the bird is really being forced upon us. Really being forced upon us. Like, is the bird a therapy bird? What is the bird, a distraction? Like, there's some tea there, and I don't get it. I don't. I see in the next episode that Giselle is going to instigate some things with Wendy, and I don't know why that needs to happen, but when we know that Wendy can't handle the pressure, but hopefully she doesn't ruin the whole trip. But going back to what I said beforehand, at this whole thing, when Michael did not want to keep the baby, usually it's because they just want to go out. He wanted to go out. He wanted to have the freedom to do whatever he wanted. And it seems like this episode and or this trip ends in the result of the scandal. I'm calling it a scandal because that's how they refer to it, where Michael may have had a liaison with someone. And I ran into these pictures by accident, and I was like, wait, what is this? So yeah, I don't want to give it away. I mean, but these pictures broke earlier this year, and from what I see, they're still together. So let me know your thoughts about this episode in my comments.